But honestly, when people are looking to create more time, once you have a handle on where your actual time is going, you have to be ruthless with your boundaries. If you are in a state that we talked about earlier, where, maybe you do have loads of time that you want to pour into your business, you need to be ruthless with your boundaries now. Set a boundary, say no, make big red X's your friend on the calendar. Those are some ways to really set you up for success later.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wisdom in the Tangents podcast. I am your host, John Mansfield. This is a place for photographers and entrepreneurs. We just have candid conversations, usually about business, usually about a certain topic, but we go down all kinds of tangents because there's always wisdom down those tangents. Hence the name of this show. And today I have a fun one for you. I have a returning guest. Jamie Fisher is back on the show. A little bit over a year ago, she was on the show with her business partner, Heather Lacey. In episode 189, we talked about how not knowing your numbers in your business is actually hurting you. So if you don't know your numbers in your business, definitely go listen to 189 after this. And also, if you like this episode, go listen to that one, because it is even, I was going to say it's even more fun, but that makes it sound like this episode was not. This episode definitely is, but like there was 3 of us over there. It was a party. My computer shut down for part of it, and Heather and Jamie just took over as co-hosts of the show until I could reboot. So yeah, that one was interesting. So I will have a link for that in the show notes. And in this episode, Jamie and I are talking about how you can create a business of more. Fill that in with many different things: a business of more time, more freedom, more legacy, more impact in the world, more family time, more creativity. We cover a lot of things, and this is a really great conversation, something that I wish I would have had 10 years ago before really getting into building a business. So yeah, without any further ado, I hate it whenever people say that. Don't say that, John. Without anything else, let's go ahead and get into this episode with Jamie Fisher. Jamie,
Hi.
Welcome back to the show. I am very excited to have you back. It's been, I probably should look this up. I don't remember when you and Heather were on. It was definitely last year.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording this like early January of 2025, so it's definitely last year. But yeah, I'm very excited to have you back on. This is going to be fun.
I'm excited to be here. It probably is really close to like a year to the date. So this is fun.
I think so, because I think it was before y'all's last Conquer Live.
Mm-hmm.
And then your 2025 Conquer Live is coming up soon as well. So
Yes.
yeah,
Less than a month.
yeah. How is that a little behind the scenes? How's like what's feeling different this time? This is your third?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, our third year doing it. It's funny that you asked that, because we actually just had a conversation where we were like, man, this third year seems like just running like clockwork. Behind the scenes, the first year, you're obviously, everything is in theory on
Yeah.
paper, and you think it's going to go well, and it went really, really well, better than we could have expected, I think. And then the second year, you're like, okay, here's where we're tweaking these things. And now when we were planning year 3, it was like, oh, we already have the majority of everything laid out, and it's just like, boom, 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 here we go. So
Yeah.
it's exciting.
That's perfect. Yeah, it's like that, like you've already got the framework, you've already got this like proven this
Yes.
worked. So we can just kind of like plug things in how it was, like obviously, making stuff new and all that, because I know you and Heather are just like, always like building and growing, like, okay, we got to do this, and like y'all are always like doing new stuff too. So but no, that's very cool. I'm glad that it is running smoothly, and I'm very excited for y'all's third Conquer Live coming up. But yeah, could you give us a little background info for anyone who maybe didn't hear your episode with Heather, whenever that was? I'll link it in the show notes for everyone to listen to after this. But give us a little background on you and Conquer Live and all the stuff that y'all do.
Sure. So I'm Jamie Fisher with Jamie Fisher Collective, and I run a legacy branding and wedding photography business separately from Conquer Live, which is an in-person conference that Heather and I run together, which is super, super fun. And I myself also coach other photographers with basically we are really honed in with building the back end of the business so that it's aligned with their ideal lives, all based out of Gettysburg, PA.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I love that y'all focus on the back end of everything because a lot of the photography education is like, this is how to do this, like, gear wise,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of like the fundamentals of shooting or like different posing stuff, which is great and handy and definitely something that you need to hone in.
Yeah.
But like that is so different for so many different people, and the back end of the business is like, you have this structure, if you can do this, like it's going to be a successful business, because a lot of us have the creative brain and we're just like, we love the light and we love doing this and
Yeah.
going out and shooting, and then it comes to the back end of the business, you're like, taxes,
Uh-huh.
oh, um you
No
mean
thanks.
I need to separate my personal expenses from my business expenses and I have to budget things? No, no. So
Yeah,
yeah, I love that y'all like dive into all that, and all the numbers and everything. I think that's what we talked about last time.
we did.
Uh,
Yeah, we talked
yeah,
about all of the numbers that you need to know in your business, but
yeah,
yeah, most creatives want to shy away from that side of it, but there's so much goodness. I think it's kind of ironic that this is the direction that my education went, was towards the back end, because I very much am creative at heart and I just want to keep creating and figuring out new ways to do things.
yeah.
But it struck me, I think, very to my core when I started seeing. So this is obviously going to date me, but I'm going into my 16th year of business. I started my business last year of college, and the people that I had started we all started at the same time. They had been in business for over 10 years, and I started seeing them close their doors.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my dearest friends. And so, of course, I the first couple times you see it, you're like, oh, really? Like, what is going on? And then when it's somebody super close to you, I actually had the opportunity to reach out. And it's so disheartening when that the business that they have been in for so long and that they're very talented, it wasn't serving their family now, right? They built a
Yeah.
business that served somebody that was single and all the time in the world, all the time in the world.
Oh
But
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they were falling into that industry standard. So even if you are years and years in business, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to continue unless you pivot and that you revisit that background, or yeah, that like the back end of your business, to make sure that it's still serving you today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is really important. Like there's so many different stages of life, and like and that can even change like within a couple months, where it's like,
Exactly.
yeah, this
Mhm.
is serving me right now, and in a couple months it may not. Like I was at a wedding just a couple days ago, and I was talking to the DJ, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm leaving here. I'm gonna pack up. I'll probably get home like 1 o'clock in the morning or so." And then he was like, I got to leave at like 6 to go drive to this other event and pack up from this other thing." And I was like, that is a very long weekend. He was like, yeah, but I'm single and I'm young and like, this is my time to do that. And I was like, that is exactly right.
Yep.
Because that is not my time right now. That is not how I want to choose to spend my time, just like working and working and working. And yeah, like I think that's really good to like look at your stage of life and what you want, because you could also be single and childless and just be like, I don't want to work that
Exactly.
much.
Yeah.
And, you just like kind of figure out what you want and then build that business to serve your lifestyle instead of having a business and like, I guess I'm going to fit my life into what this business leaves me,
Hmm.
to actually live for like a personal life.
Which is
So
honestly
like,
what a lot of people fall into if they don't have a plan, right? It's like,
mhm,
I'm going to jam it into whatever's left. And
yeah,
then more of your own personal time also gets sucked into that. That's just like a
yeah,
downward spiral.
yeah. For anyone who's like, maybe this is, um, like maybe either a side gig or they just like went full time or something, and this is kind of in the first few years, the like the 1 to 3 year mark of like building the business, and they're trying to find that foundation of like, how can they do that? Do you have some tips on how they can kind of look at that and figure out, because they may be listening and like, I don't know how to put this together. Y'all are talking numbers, y'all are talking like time management, and I'm just out here like, please someone hire me, I just need some money.
Oh, I know. And that also is a big contributing factor, right? When you're not booking consistently and you want to say yes to everything. Um,
Hmm.
but honestly, the sooner that you start, the better you and your business are going to be in the future. But if you're going to go through the first couple of steps into making sure that you are going to live a life with more freedom and more impact. I'm going to say something and people are going to roll their eyes because they always do until they do it, and then they're like, you were right,
Actually,
I didn't want
Jamie,
to say
yes.
it. But you have to track your time. You have to.
Mm,
It's the only way to do a self audit to truly know where your time is going. Um, I see it all the time where people are like, you don't even want to look at my computer. You don't want to even know how many tabs I have open. And right there, if you have multiple tabs open, that's your sign. You need to track your time. Even having multiple tabs, and just say that you are the most diligent worker. You work, only your set of hours that you have deemed um, acceptable in this time of your life. Even just having multiple tabs open and going from task to task to task is sucking time away from your growth and your freedom, depending on where you want to allocate your time. So, tracking your time, I do it with a free app called Toggle. It is amazing. And I made a little Loom video if anybody wants to know how I specifically do it. I use tags, which I think is a very quick and easy way to be able to assess where your time is actually going. But that's step number one. Don't hate me until you do it. Okay. I don't want to hear that you don't want to do it.
yeah, I feel like I also need to do that now, because like I did that early on in the my business. Like I came from a very like my 9 to 5 job. I was in quality assurance, so it was very
Okay.
much like this time, like I was clocking in and clocking out on different jobs and projects and stuff. So it was very much like at the end of the week, I could break down and see like I did so much of my time on this and so much of my time on this. And then I had this, transition time that was just kind of wasted or whatever. And then coming into running a photography business, I was like, I'm gonna track all my stuff, and I just went old school Excel spreadsheet, and like just like would, whenever I start a new thing, I would write it down with a pencil, and then I would put it in manually later. Toggle sounds so much better, but
Mine's running right now.
yeah, nice. And but like I haven't done that in a while, and I think that would probably be really beneficial for me now to just see what actually is taking up most of my time, and are there some ways that maybe I could automate some of those things,
Hmm.
and kind of beef up those systems and workflows that I already have in place to save me time, but that maybe I haven't updated in a while. So thanks for kind of like sparking that. I know that was like just a random thought, but
No, I
yeah,
mean,
no, I'm
especially
glad.
photographers coming out of what is typically, no matter your niche, typically fall tends to be that busiest time for photographers. When you're coming out of that, like, I feel like a lot of systems are kind of just like thrown to the wind, and we're just getting through that. So coming out of that season right now in particular, if people are listening live right now, this is the perfect time to reassess kind of what your time is. I've actually been tracking my time with Toggle since, I guess now is like a whole year and a quarter that I have not stopped. So it's been nonstop. Before,
Nice.
when I've tried to do that and use other systems, I feel like it's kind of like a New Year's resolution, right? Like we're good for a
Oh
while
yeah.
and then it falls off. But this has been going strong. So if you need a system, I highly suggest doing that. But honestly, when people are looking to create more time, once you have a handle on where your actual time is going, you have to be ruthless with your boundaries. If you are in a state that we talked about earlier, where, maybe you do have loads of time that you want to pour into your business, you need to be ruthless with your boundaries now and build some of them. I don't care if it's like, that you want time to go to the gym, you want time to travel, you want just you time. Even if you don't think that you need it, or you just love, like I love doing things in the business. And I saw that starting to be where I would go, even if I didn't need to work for fun.
Yeah.
And that can be a problem too. So set a boundary, say no, make big red X's your friend on the calendar. Those are some ways to really set you up for success later. And then you can dive in deeper to where you are only being in the business in the aspects that need you, which is also really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very difficult too. I love now I do. I didn't before, but I love marking off days on my calendar for just personal day. Even
Yep.
if I don't have anything scheduled, even if it's not like, oh, this is like my kid's birthday, or this is, we're planning a vacation or something. It's just like, well, I already see that I have like two weddings booked this month, so I'm going to block off the other weekends so I don't get an inquiry. I'm like, oh yeah, I am available that day, and I'm not like looking around the calendar to see, but I can just like block it off because I'm like, I want that to be personal time. And I had recently printed up my like 2025
Mhm.
calendar, put it on the wall with all of my new wedding dates and events and travels and stuff, and I had them like circled, and then I had others that were just like x'd out. And my son was like, what are the circles? And I was like, oh, those are the events that I have booked. And he was like, what are the X's? I was like, those are just days that I don't want to work. So if people ask me about that day, I know I marked that off for a reason.
Yeah.
Like previous John, whenever he was actually thinking about it, he marked that off, and not the one who's just like, oh, you're going to pay me money? Yeah, sure. I will, whatever. I'll do 3 weddings in a weekend. But like that, I marked that off, and it was kind of cool to like share that with my almost 10-year-old of
Yeah.
like, I am setting boundaries to not overwork myself so that I can also be here with you, and
Hmm.
also like spend some time for myself. And that has been something that I've been learning the last few years, is like I cannot be running at 100% all the time, and just go 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 and then sleep. um, I have to take time to rest, and I have to take time for my body, because my body will like, I'm good at running 100% until I'm not.
Yep.
And then my body's just like, you are like near death, you're going to be in bed for like 2 weeks. And it's always during like the busiest season where I have to do stuff. So yeah, having that those making those hard boundaries is difficult, but it is so so important.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up too about like if you already have, 2 weddings on that month, and that's the boundary that you set,
Mhm.
that you're going to mark off the other one. I actually do. So I do my red X's before anything. Obviously, when it comes to weddings, it's a little bit different because they're booking further out. But if you have something like that, it's really good to have a rule. So in your case where you're marking off the other two, you can just have that like as a sticky note. Say that you had a month where you only booked one, right? And you have those three other opens. If you just know that you want to take off the other two for your own self and it's not, anything tied to a date, you can have those as like red stickies.
Yeah.
And once you book one, then you're like, nope, I'm not doing the other ones. And then you can, really X that out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, it's like having those rules are helpful because you obviously you can bend the rules. You're your own business owner. There are times that I get like, a crazy inquiry or something. I'm just like, this is like a dream location or couple or whatever, or it's like a friend, and I'm like, oh well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, obviously I'm gonna go to your wedding. Um, but other times I'd have that rule to remind myself like it is okay to say no
Yeah.
because I am a recovering perfectionist people pleaser person and it is hard to say no a lot of times, and having those rules in place and having little sticky notes as reminders of like, oh no, this is a rule, this is a boundary that I've set up. I can say no, and I can
Yeah.
also say yes if I really want to bend that around for this one time. But like,
And
I think that's really good.
yeah, like you've set those also when you have been in a calm, clear state of mind, not
Yes.
one out of, oh, I need to book, like, yes, whatever it is, yes. And then you hate yourself later for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. That is. I mean, that is so good of just like setting up all of these things, like all the time management and the boundaries, and just like working on the back end of your business whenever you're in a clear mind, like
Mhm.
especially during like downtime, and
Yeah.
the slower season is a really great time to work on your business. And instead of when your business is like going crazy and you're super busy and everything is kind of shaky because the foundation's not secure, and you're just like, I don't know, I'm trying to hold on to everything, and like I'm also hammering on the planks underneath my feet to try and like stabilize. And it's like, no, you were in a clear mind whenever you set up this foundation, and now you can build on it. So yeah, so good. Okay, I with that kind of like building mindset of like, how can we build a little bit more like time, maybe like widen our margins a little bit in the business instead
Mhm.
of just like, I don't know, like running your wheels all the time.
Yeah. The three ways which are most popular, and again, like I think that all of the techniques that I use are like tried and true, and people know them. The
Hmm.
difference is actually implementing them,
Yes.
because you can know all the information, you can go to every event there is, you can take every course, but until you put it into practice in your own business, you're not going to see the results for it. Again, like when I mentioned tracking your time, people roll their eyes, but it's because they haven't done it
Hmm.
yet. So first of all, looking through everything that you do and seeing what you can eliminate. So eliminate, automate, delegate, is what I take my business through, honestly, every January. It's the perfect time. It's still fresh in my mind, the busiest time that I just came off of. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
know what I don't want. Like, what can we do to make this better? So just looking through your customer journey is a great place to start, and seeing where you can eliminate things, because not everything that you're doing is necessary. And then the automate portion doesn't necessarily mean lean on your systems. However, if you're already paying for the systems, you should be using them if they have the ability to help you. Um, that is also going to save you from hiring out unnecessarily. So if you already pay for a system that you're using for, just say like your CRM, and it has other capabilities like scheduling, then you don't need to pay for another system, or you don't need to, hire a VA or all of that.
Yeah.
So making sure basically that you're maxing out the systems that you have to take those things off of your plate, because they're not made for the CEO plate anyway. And
Right.
then the last little piece would be to delegate them out. Again, either a new system that you would be paying for, or something like a VA is usually where people start, or doing a specific thing that you despise but deem necessary, like the social media manager or something like
Yeah. Oh, okay. You had like so many different things. I was like, ooh, great. I want to talk about that. Oh, yes. And that also. But like that, I mean, that last thing that you said, the things that you despise but are like beneficial for your business.
that. Hmm.
A lot of people hate social media managing. There are great people out there who love it and do like that's just like they thrive at that, and that's why they are social media managers. And like for me, that was editing. Editing photos. I was just it took so long to just go through and edit. I also didn't have like a really great system on my end, and I was doing like each individual photo by hand and tweaking all the things that I'm sure none of my couples were just like, oh, I noticed that this one the highlights were just a little bit lower than the other, and they were just like, yeah, this moment is great, it looks great. But like I was spending so much time on that, and it was just kind of like every time that I was looking at my to-do list and it was like finish editing this, it was just like that.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. I enjoy doing this other thing in my business, but I'll do the editing. And I ended up hiring out an editor, and I thought, no way they're going to be as good as me because this is mine, but they were better than I was because that's what they love doing. And like they were looking at new tools and like getting better at editing. So then whenever I was sending them like my finished products from other shoots, they were able to match the colors and everything super easy. And I was like, this just makes sense because like now that I've done it, it makes sense. Like the like you were saying with managing your time and seeing where you're spending your time. Once you do it, it's like, I should have done this a long time ago. And yeah, delegating the things that are the drain
Hmm.
in whenever you're looking at all of your to-dos, and they're always the ones you just kind of push off. Maybe I'm gonna flip that over to the next page
Yep.
and put it
Until the
put it for
deadline
next
comes,
week.
right?
Yeah. It's like those are great ones to delegate out because there are people that is their gift. That is what they love doing and they excel at that. So not only are they going to do a probably a better job because they excel in that one thing, but also they're going to do it quicker too.
Yeah.
So it's not only going to save you time, but it's also going to save you time in the long run too. So yeah, that's my soapbox on delegation. And I know that there were like three or four other things that you said, and I cannot remember them now. Um, but
You talk about maxing out your systems you already have. Um,
yes, that's one of them. Okay. Uh, yeah. Maxing out the systems that you already have. There are so many like CRMs and so many different, like we have so many subscriptions and memberships and stuff that we do now. And they're always growing and
hmm.
building. At least they should be. Most, the ones that I subscribe to are always like sending me emails of like, hey, we did this, or
Here's
you
the
want to be a
new,
beta
yeah.
tester for this new thing. I'm like, yeah, this is great. But there's so many different aspects to different CRMs that you may not know that you already have. That, like you mentioned, um, your CRM might have scheduling
Hmm.
capabilities, and you're also paying for a scheduler, or you have that somewhere else, and then you have to manually link it over to your CRM. But you may not know that your CRM actually has different features. So like take a little bit of time, look through what the software that you're using and what all capabilities it does have for you.
Yeah, I
I love
definitely
it.
assess my systems every year because, I mean, when you're out there doing the part of your job that you love, you're not sitting there and looking up every single thing that it can do. And if your system that you have set up, like, using two different things to still drive the result you want, you're paying for those and it works, right?
Mm,
So you're not inherently going to be like, oh, I need to go fix that because it's not technically broken, but you
right.
are bleeding out money in that. And so just revisiting the systems that you already have and where you have the most kind of invested, whether that's, building into the back end of that CRM or whatever, look into that and make sure that you're maxing it out because you likely can kind of nix those little outliers that you've been using as band-aids for your system.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that is great because like I need fewer distractions and like different directions pulling me because like using all the different systems, it's just like it's like having all those tabs open like you
Mm-hmm.
were talking earlier, and you're just bouncing from here to there, and for whatever reason some of them are like, hey, it's been 2 weeks since you logged in, I'm gonna log you out so that you can log back in again. I'm like, now I gotta figure out what my password was for this thing. And then it's like 15 minutes later, and I'm like digging through my email to like recovery password. And I'm like, I just wanted to do this one thing, and now I've lost 20 minutes of my day because I didn't know that I could already do this with my CRM or with whatever software. So yeah, consolidate those tabs if you can.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is great. Yeah. Are there any other steps or anything else you would like to share with the listeners for just like recovering time, generating more time, kind of like or even like what you're doing with the time that you already have?
Oh, that is a good one. I think number one, what I see, because I work with photographers through mentorship. So I'm also kind of getting, boots on the ground, current information as to what photographers are struggling with. And once they're able to actually sift through and see, okay, well, here's where I can get my time back. And some of them know what they want to do with it, right? Like it might go into the part of their personal life. They're trying to regain that. Some of them are trying to set up that very strong foundation and really step into the CEO role of their business. A lot of them are taking their business from part-time to full-time. So that's kind of what we're working on. It's stepping into that true CEO role, which is very difficult for photographers because the what you're producing kind of puts you in an employee mindset. And
Hmm.
so to own that business and also fulfill the photography part, it gets a little bit muddy, especially when we're talking about the back end stuff. But if you can do these things, if you can go through your systems, your workflows, your delegation, you will get back what is estimated to be 25% of your time. So just think about how much time you're putting into your business right now, and you see no way out, no way that you can add something, no way that you can implement a CEO day, which is what I wanted to talk about, because that's really where people are focusing their time right now. They're understanding that there is no time right now in their business setup to be able to sit, grow the business, assess the business. They're seeing no way to even do these things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And so making sure that we're not only putting those big red X's on the calendar, but we're also saying, okay, maybe starting out, it's once a month. Like I'm okay with that, but consistency is what you need for these CEO days. So that is where I would say, if you're putting more time back into the business, that's where it needs to be. Because when you have that clear headed, your mind there in growing your business consistently throughout the year, not just setting it every January, like we talked about, but if you can
Uh-huh.
make that happen, it doesn't have to be every week, although that would be phenomenal if you could do that. Have a goal in your mind to what frequency you want. And then we'll just start slow. Like I said, once a month is great. That means that you are setting aside 12 times instead of one time every year to go through and grow the business and make sound decisions on what is right for you and the business right now. But when I looked up, because I really wanted to know that statistic, I'm like, talk about, getting your time back and making sure that it's allocated correctly in your business all the time. But what is it truly? And it's 25%. And I was like, wow. All
Yeah.
right.
That is huge. That is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it was way more than I thought. Um, but it's enough to make you want to track your time.
Yeah.
It's enough
Yeah.
to want to see where that is.
Yeah, because if you think about that, like if you are currently feeling just like so overwhelmed and just like you're running at 100% and it's just 100 all the time,
Hmm.
if you get that 25% back, like that's a quarter of your time that, what in a month, that's, I don't know,
Come on,
math.
math guy.
That's, yeah. I was like, that's not correct. But yeah, in a month, that's a whole week that you are getting a week of time back every single month. That is insane,
Yeah.
because that is, I mean, it really just goes to show that like whenever you are spending time on like growing your business and making it more functional and sustainable, that it does, like, it becomes a better machine. It
Hmm.
becomes better functioning and more efficient, and produces higher output, and like it's just gonna be working even better. I don't know why I was thinking of like investing money. Like you invest just like a little bit, and then the interest comes in, you're like, oh, like
Right.
I've made a little bit here. Okay, cool. Now I can like go invest here. And then like that's bringing in, and then the original investment's bringing in, and it's like it starts growing and growing. It's like it takes a little bit, like baby steps at first, but then you start feeling that extra time coming in, and that like that first weekend or that first evening where you're not opening up your laptop after dinner
Yeah.
to like catch up on work, and it's like, oh, this feels good. I can like watch a movie, or I can sit and play a game or whatever. Like that is what we want for our life, is that freedom to have that downtime, and to like live your life instead of just like working it all the
Yes.
time.
I'm so glad that you said that, like, all of that is to regain freedom, because when you talk about, systems being efficient, and we start going into all of those things, which, like, honestly really excite me, I feel
Right.
like creatives are like, uh-huh, that's why I don't want
uh
a 9 to 5. Like, we're not
mhm.
building that, but all of this gets you the freedom that you want. You cannot have freedom and chaos coexist. Like, it does not work.
No.
So everything that you are craving is going to happen from these systems. Um, let's talk about what happens, like, not just in the day to day, like what bigger things can happen from
Oh
getting
yeah,
this time back. You want to go there?
let's do that. That sounds amazing. Yes.
Well, I think it's really easy to be like, especially when we just talked about the 25%, right? Like, that's a whole week back in your month. So what are you going to do with that? But compounding that, what does that actually look like for your life? So when I think about that, I think about personal impact. We probably already know, because we're talking about like aligning it with your life, but we're talking about the business impact and your personal impact on your life. So that can be immediate, like your current lifestyle, or retirement for, that's your life. So I'm putting that under the immediate category, because that's your life. But also, putting these things in place can have multi-generational effects later. You would
Yeah.
have, like, how good would it feel for you to be able to put a trust together to create a scalable business that could be, either passed on or sold, and then that income be given to your relatives? Like, I just, when I think about that, like, that's why I want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Not just for you and like your life right now, but also like your kids or your relatives, loved ones later on, generations to come, to like benefit them. Like my my grandfather passed almost a year ago today. No, no, a year ago, like a couple days ago, actually. And he had, unknown to all of us, had like opened, I think he had like 18 different IRAs and stuff, and just like had just been putting money here and there. Like he built his house in like the 50s or something,
Mm-hmm.
and like they never moved, and he owned his own business, and they just like didn't have a lot of debt, and he just had money and bought things and all that, and lived a pretty simple lifestyle, but like had all these different IRAs set up in his kids' names, and like
Oh,
all of that is now like benefiting the next generations. And like with seeing that over this last year, and like them, calling and just being like, hey, so we found this other thing, and like we found this building that he owned that we didn't know, so we're selling that, and that kind of stuff. Like my wife and I were talking about like that, we want to do that, like maybe not
mhm.
so secretively to where like no one knows and like everyone's hunting down stuff, but like we want to be able to like build things that are going to outlive us,
Yeah,
and like that kind of building that freedom in your business to where it can do more than just sustain you right now. It's doing more than just paying your bills and giving you a couple free weekends a month, but it's like building generational wealth
hmm,
by by taking the baby steps to get your systems in order and
yeah,
your workflows. And yeah, it's really exciting, like once you start seeing that little bit of like that 25% of this time coming in, and like it's building and building, and then you're able to do more and more with that extra 25% of time coming
yeah.
in. So
Because
yeah.
honestly, if yeah, everybody's life runs off of money, right? And if you just
Yeah.
want that and you just want a couple of free weekends, or depending on what job you would accept, it could be every weekend free. Then go do that. We know that entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but this is
Mm,
what can happen if you have these things in place, if you build slowly and are have a firm foundation, then these are the things that can happen. You can also drive community impact. Like this is actually really crazy because our pastor just this week had referenced that one of his mentors had said, if your church closed tomorrow, would anybody other than your the people that go there, would anybody that's not in the congregation notice? Like, would they feel an effect of it
mm,
closing? And I paused on that and I thought about that, and it's the same with our businesses. Like, I know how hard photographers work. I know how much they put into it. And at the end of the day, is it really just to sustain your life? I feel like it can't. Other people
yeah.
have to feel a whole. Like, that's what we should be striving for. And that's what I'm striving for within my own business. So whether it's personal impact, where we're talking about, the multi-generational effect of that, or community impact, doing these things, creating this time so that you have margin to grow a business that you're able to give back. I know so many people that want to do that, but they feel trapped in saying yes to this job, saying yes to this job, because we have to make, these payments. We all have bills.
Yeah.
It gives you the freedom to do that too. I'm a now I'd lay me down to sleep photographer, and there would be no way that
Hmm.
I could go and do that and give that time if I felt the pressure of, I can't even give, those sessions because my time has to be with paid sessions.
Yeah.
There's lots of people that, want to do that to make an impact. You can help other businesses in your area become visible. You could run a local photography summer camp for kids, like whatever drives you, but there's no way that you can do that if you don't build in the time in your business either. So whether that time is to regain, financial impact for you, um, or your legacy there, or it's to give more of what you were given, like your gifts, and give that. You can't do that if you don't have time either.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so good. Like that like stepping back and just like I I feel like a lot of us entrepreneurs, like we leave the 9 to 5 world to create our own thing with this in mind of like, we want this freedom and we want to do this, and then like within a couple of years kind of get tied down. It's like that meme of like, I left the 9 to 5 to work 24/7. It's like, that's not what we want for you. This
Yeah.
is not what you wanted whenever you left the 9 to 5. And like, sure, there are times where it's like, oh yeah, I'm just like so busy, but like that is not your end goal, and that should not be. And like doing these kind of things and setting these boundaries and getting your systems and workflows in order help you to like create the lifestyle that you actually wanted whenever you
Mhm.
were like, I could be a photographer, I could work for myself, I could have this freedom, I could make more money than I was at my 9 to 5 while also having to work less time. And then that can actually become your reality, to where you're like, that is just pouring over into your community. And like, I love that. And I'm so excited for everyone listening who is just like, their lives are going to change, where that is going to become the reality through this. So yeah, Jamie, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been
You're
so
welcome.
good. Always so great to see you and to talk with you. I love just seeing you on online, and everything that y'all are doing with Conquer Live and everything. But like, before we get into kind of the end of the show where we let people know where to find you and all of that, I do want to talk about like what we're loving this week, and can be literally anything, book, TV show, movie, whatever. What are you loving this week?
Hmm. Well, I'm like a podcast fanatic. Like I would do that with all my spare time.
Yeah.
But I feel like I jump around and I have a lot of favorites that I listen to all the time. But I do have like a go-to snack that is pretty dang good.
Okay. What is
Um,
that?
my
I like
5 year,
snacks.
I know. I think I was gonna say 5 year old, but I think he asked for it, like kind of just like made it up whenever he was 4, and it has been
Mm.
a staple. Apples, peanut butter, and mini chocolate chips. But you have to slice them so they're like circles.
Wait, slice the apples so they're circles?
Yeah, like just take the
Okay.
apple and slice it this way so that you
Gotcha,
have
gotcha, gotcha, got it.
peanut
Okay.
butter and then sprinkle mini chocolate chips on it. It's like perfect amount of sweetness and you still feel good because you have the protein
Because
and
it's
like
an
it
apple,
kind of,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. That is, so apple and peanut butter is like one of my go-to lunches. It's just, I love a good like crisp pink lady apple,
Oh yeah.
where it's like, it's got that little bit of sweetness, but also it's got the tartness without being like full Granny Smith. And yeah, putting a little peanut butter on there. I'm gonna have to throw some mini chocolate chips on there.
I mean, then that makes your meal, right? Then you have like your meal and your dessert.
Yeah, there you go. All together. It's perfect. Awesome. Okay. I love that. Okay, tell me, hit me with a couple of podcasts. I know that
Mm,
you're loving a lot of
I
podcasts,
do.
but what are some of your faves, or like maybe some that just kind of like stood out recently that you're like, oh, this is a really good episode of whatever show.
Okay. Well, I feel like a staple is marketing made simple, business made simple. Like those are always really good to come back to.
Hmm.
And if you don't know what to listen to, those are definitely always on my list. I love Layli Amadi's like, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
But newer, what I try to do is look outside of the industry too, so that I don't create tunnel vision, right? Like as an educator, I don't want to just recreate things that are already there. So I'm kind of like, I want to have a well-rounded education myself. So that's kind of where I go. I always listen to Mel Robbins. I love that. But a newer one is from the Cochrans called Family Goals. And I've never listened to podcasts. I was always hyper focused. Like if it's a business podcast, oh man, I'm there, I'm listening. But this one is specifically just on creating like the family life that you want. And I am really enjoying it.
Okay. I have not heard that one yet. So I'm going to have to listen. I think that'll be really good. Just like you were saying, I have been trying to focus more outside of the industry to not, because like a lot of times we hear a lot of the similar things from different podcasts, or a lot of the same guests like kind of popping around whenever they have like a new book or something coming out, and they're just like hitting all the different like marketing podcasts. I'm like, oh yeah, I heard this last week on this one. But yeah, I've been like listening less to photography and marketing type podcasts and more of just other industries. And Spotify's got like the little video clips now, and they have been suggesting like similar shows to me a lot, and I'm like, yeah, I'll check that one out. And there have been a few good ones recently. So
I'm gonna have to do that. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. I have been putting video clips into Spotify too. So I was like, maybe if I listen to some of these, other people will also watch my clips. But cool. I love that. I'm definitely going to be making that snack later. I'm already thinking about it.
I'm telling you,
snack sounds good.
2 years going strong.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. This week I'm loving. I got a Nintendo Switch for Christmas, and when I say I got one, I mean my wife and I bought it, and then I just wrapped it for myself, because I'm a big Nintendo guy. Like that was one of the things that I remember from my childhood was having like a Super Nintendo, and never did the Switch thing. But my nephews have a Switch, and we were with them over. I guess it was my birthday over the summer, and they had brought it, and like we were playing Mario Kart and stuff, and I was like, this would be fun, and like it's also like portable, so we could take it in the car. So we bought that, and I have been loving playing some Mario Kart and playing that with the kids, and it's been a fun time, kind of a little nostalgia, a little childhood fun.
I know our kids have it too, and it is fun. Nice. Have you done the sports on it?
No, I've literally only done Mario. We've had it for maybe a week. I guess since Christmas, so like a couple weeks now. But yeah, I need to do the sports on there too.
Our kids will be like fencing, and you would swear they're doing it in real life, and it's like very animated. They're yelling, and me and my husband opted we've had it, I guess, for over a year. It was like a last Christmas gift. And funny enough, last New Year's, we went to dinner. We had plans to like meet up with friends later. We had 2 opportunities to go to like 2 different parties. And if you know me, like I want to be around people. Like it's not like me to say no to going to a party, especially when it's like our best friends. Mm-hmm. We came home from eating to let our dog out, and I was like, do you kind of just want to stay here? And we went downstairs and we did bowling.
Nice.
And we never went to the party. We just stayed here and did that. And it was the best.
Sometimes that is the night that you need. Just some good virtual bowling. Were y'all already like dressed up and everything for the party?
Oh yeah, like we had already been out to dinner. We stopped back to let the dog out. We had childcare, and like I was like, oh man, I kind of want to just take my heels off and like stay here.
Yep. No, that's perfect.
It was awesome.
That's so fun. Okay, Jamie, let everyone know where they can find you, follow along, find all the stuff, come see you in person, all that.
Absolutely. Oh, and I have a gift for everybody that they can go and do.
Gifts. We love gifts.
I know, as we're talking about gifts. So you can find me. I am definitely on Instagram all of the time. DMs are me. I do have a social media manager, but I am the one in there talking. And most likely you'll hear my voice, because like voice and video DMs are my jam. That's just at Jamie Fisher Collective. Same thing on Facebook. And if you need to email me, Jamie at Jamie Fisher Collective. But I did just open up a quiz that helps people identify what is sucking their time away. So everything that we talked about today, if you are, again, kind of rolling your eyes at me asking you to track your time, and you want a quick answer to be able to analyze, okay, this is where your time is just being kind of sucked out from under you, you can go and take that quiz. It's at jamiefishercollective.com/time-suck. So find out what your time suck is, and you will get results. And then I have tips that send to you every day for about 3 days of little bite-sized things that you can do to move yourself one step forward. So we can baby step it, and then you're going to track your time.
Nice. I love it. That's those quizzes are always so fun too. So I'm going to go check out that quiz myself.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I will have all of that, including the quiz and everything, linked in the show notes for everyone. But yeah, Jamie, thanks for coming back on the show, and thanks for being here.
No, thanks so much for having me. It's always a blast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Wisdom in the Tangents podcast. As always, you can check out all the show notes at podcast.allheartphoto.com. This episode was number 238. That used to be one of my favorite bands, and now they have rebranded themselves into something else. I don't actually know. But I noticed that in one of my nostalgic playlists on Spotify recently. It's no longer 238, but it's still one of my favorite numbers. Yeah, thanks again for listening. I really enjoyed this, having Jamie back on the show. Like I mentioned earlier, I do have episode 189 linked in the show notes, so you can listen to her and Heather Lacey and myself talk about knowing your numbers. This is a great time if you don't know your numbers, because we got taxes coming up, and that is something very, very handy to have. But like always, if you're not subscribed to the show, definitely subscribe wherever you're listening to this. If you're watching on YouTube, hello, this is my face. And leave a review, leave some comments, say hi, like the video, do all the things, just interact somehow. I want this to be a community. I love getting to interact with y'all. So I will see you next week for another episode. Bye, y'all. That was a good one.